Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag-grown technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
It's time!
How you like that?
Did you do that?
I'm getting my production skills down.
Hey, look at you. Who said you
Working
can't
really
learn
hard
new?
at this.
Who says you can't learn anything post 40 years old?
Well, it's one of those deals, you know. I just like the idea that we're always going to have a producer is pretty rare. In fact, I think we have a producer like 10% of the time for this show, so it's like I may as well learn it on my own. Although
Proud
it's
of
not
you.
as
Well
clean
done.
as when Van Winkle and
No, but we can't expect perfection here. It's
No.
progress.
I mean, come on, what are we doing here? This is still Cyclone Fanatic. We're still who we
That's
are. We are Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. It is the 19th of January, 2025. We're recording right now. We got a hell of a snow game going on in the NFL.
Snow games are the best.
Love the snow games.
If this
Between
was
the
college
Eagles
football, this
and
game would be played at a bowl game. Inside.
They'd be like, hey, let's move this game to Birmingham
We're gonna go to
and play it in front of 15,000 people. Hey, how about let's just move this to Texas. We're just going to go to Houston in some dome.
Right. And you guys don't have to fly down here.
Yeah. Everybody's got to fly to it. That's a great point. This is how stupid the bowl games are.
You won't get a snow game, at least not in the quarterfinal round.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that changes. I feel like that's one of the things, like after we can't make too many adjustments, I think, after 1 year. We got to let it simmer a little bit. But can't everybody agree that all these like up until the semis at least, they should be on campuses? Isn't that an easy decision?
I think so. And although they had there was a meeting today, because it's, they have these big, It's, by the way, it seems like the NCAA and these committees, it seems like they just meet all the time. Like they're always somewhere meeting.
Let me guess. They were in Boca Raton.
Well,
they're in the Florida Keys at some 6-star resort.
they're at where's the championship game tomorrow? That's where they were.
Atlanta.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they're down in Atlanta, and it
my
sounds like
apologies.
next year, they needed unanimous support from all the conferences to change the format, and they didn't get it. So the SEC and the Big Ten wanted to change the auto buy system, and they're not going to get it next year. Now they'll probably get it in 2026 when they have more authority at that point.
Yeah, when they have all the voting power to
Correct.
just completely.
But it sounds like for at least this next year, the format will stay largely the same, at least for the upcoming season. Keep an eye on it. Among other things that are happening in college athletics.
I hadn't seen that was even going on, so
Yeah.
good pull. Yeah, we're not going to spend all day on it. I did want to hit your brain on the Title IX stuff, and
I'm not real helpful, honestly. I
don't think anybody really understands, and like the thing about it is that with the Trump administration starting this week and the Democrats like basically having no power, like it's kind of like whatever the GOP wants will happen, and they're very much you tell me if I'm wrong, they're more of a pro-institution where the Democratic Party would be more pro-player and try to blow the whole thing up. Is that accurate?
It's really hard to know for sure. And again, this is why I don't know if this whole thing, and I promise we will get into the West Virginia game.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk mainly about. I promise.
I don't know if this is political, Chris, or not. And then if
I don't think it is, but I think it will be.
Yeah, I think it could. Yeah, but to your point, yes, I would say that's fair. I know everyone's saying, "Well, wait a second." Generally, and this is a political show. Generally, the GOP is pro-market. I think in this instance, you're correct. I think the GOP, based on what's coming out from their legislators, are pro-institution.
I mean, read the Ted Cruz tweet. Like,
yeah, you got it. So it's Ted Cruz against I would say the more player power movement, which would be more on the empowerment side. Yes, exactly.
You've been ripping us off forever.
Yes.
And Booker, I believe, played collegiate athletics, so he's coming from a whole.
Well said. Yeah, this isn't pro-market or anti-market. I think, Chris, you said it well. It's pro-institution, and I would say, yeah, institution's a good word there.
And you have one side that believes they are. And by the way, it's like anything. It always is usually somewhere in the middle, where it should be. It's me from 10,000 feet away.
And I would just,
but it's real quick. You have one side that believes they're saving college athletics, or they're trying to, and then the other side that says you've been taking advantage of and ripping these people off for decades. Now we're going to stick it to you and make you pay them everything they deserve and more.
Yeah, and honestly, everyone's correct.
Yeah, like it is.
It's like I've read some of the stuff coming out of Washington this week about this new injunction in regards to Title IX, and as well as basically the Justice Department recommended they throw this whole college athletic settlement out, and it put everybody on like, what are we going to do then? Like everyone is so confused in college athletics right now because you don't know whether to plan for the future, to wait. But if you wait and you don't plan and then you get caught, and so it's a mess. The whole thing's a big mess right now. But to your point, C-Dub, I think they're both correct. And the new Republican administration will probably be more pro-institution in keeping college athletics how it has been in the past. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I have no faith in any of these people.
Well, that is my. I don't think it.
I don't think any of them have like good. To the core, I don't think they really care. I think it's more just posturing.
That's my fear, exactly.
But I also, in my challenge, last thing I have to say about this is that especially in this state, I can't say this about everywhere, but in states like Alabama, a lot of these rural places, it's vital to our economy, our local economy.
Can't agree more.
Things don't just go away, and like that we can't just say like, screw it, it was a good run. Like that would be horrific for so many small businesses and not small business, like institutions, cities. So I hope Iowa is paying attention to like the state, and I hope you don't just, I don't know, fall in line, I guess, with whatever happens. Another conversation for another day. But if we're giving Northern Iowa $6 million a year to compete in college athletics, like the state is, like, I don't know about Iowa because of their financial situation's different in the Big Ten. I don't know if you can just say, like, well, Iowa State, I don't even know if Iowa State deserves money. It's not even my point.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, to keep Iowa and Iowa State vibrant is very important to this state, and I think you can relax the whole you have to be no funding by the university thing. I think we have to consider that going forward.
I 100% with you, and I hope the state doesn't see this as a Big Ten versus the Big 12 thing. It's not. These are our. I mean, a lot of like people revolve their lives around Iowa and Iowa State athletics. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. Honestly, C-Dub, I don't know if you or I would have stayed in Iowa if not for
I wouldn't have.
Iowa State having a Big 12. And then how many kids enroll at Iowa and Iowa State because of, Power 4 athletics? And there is a huge, huge value, in my opinion, that the state is getting off of very little expenditure in regards to athletics. Now, yes, the regions do support the whole institution. And as an institution of higher learning, there's bigger things in the budget than just athletics. That said, I have talked to numerous, Chris, CEOs of big companies here in Iowa, and they get it because they say one of the reasons why we're able to at least keep our younger talent here is because they can go to Iowa and Iowa State games and have those teams be competitive, and it's another reason for quality of life here. So they some of them don't, but I've seen some investment from some companies for that exact reason. They want Iowa and Iowa State to do well because it means that they'll be able to keep more people here. We have a problem in this state, and that's some of our best people leave. Well, if you lose high-end college athletics, that'd be another reason for people to leave. And I have tried to knock on some doors in Des Moines, and I haven't really gotten too far, but I hope we don't get to the point where it's like, well, too late now. It is what it is. Like, this is the time where I think the state can at least get involved, if possible, to at least bridge the gap to keep Iowa and Iowa State competitive with its peers.
Going to be a fascinating couple of months here. This offseason will be as active as ever as far as these board meetings.
And no longer is college athletics immune from politics or the courts or all the above. Like, we are deep in the middle of it right now.
We are presented, as always, by MacDine. Nice text messages from Chris Clover over the weekend because I showed him the new Williams and Blum logo that Kyle Starcevich, former Cyclone quarterback, former Southeast Polk stud. Really excited. Kyle's coming on board. He's going to help doing graphic design and stuff for Cyclone Fanatic in a little part-time role for him, as he's got an awesome visuals company. He's a hell of a wedding photographer, too, so if you need a wedding photographer, look up our guy Kyle. But no, it was funny. Clover didn't like the new one because he said it made us look too attractive. He didn't believe that it was a fair representation.
Look at us, though.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Tens of thousands of views on YouTube. It's not for our good content.
We're beautiful men.
Yes.
Beautiful men. We are presented by MacDine, and then we did get an invite to the Haverhill Social Club sometime soon, so we'll be doing that with our friends. We are presented, as always, today by our friend Colin Newell. Colin Newell Insurance. You can be like Williams and Blum. You can get your home, auto, in my case, a camper, life, everything protected by our guy at Farm Bureau Financial Services. His name is Colin Newell, and he used to touch Brock Purdy's rear end on a near daily basis. He also lived with Brock Purdy. How cool is that? Okay, Iowa State goes to West Virginia. Listen, you really thought a split at West Virginia at Texas Tech would be really good for Iowa State. That's what they end up doing. Brent, I've since had a post-game show. I've since had two guys, Hassel and I had to record a day early this week. So I don't want to be too much of a broken record, but I will put my overall thoughts on this game on a platter for you and then let you kind of dissect it freshly. But I thought the Kansas game, I think I've used the word mirage as far as without Momcilovic. It just didn't feel like it was a totally fair representation of what this team would be without him. Mainly because in sports, when you lose, it's always the next man up and everybody bounces back, and then reality sort of hits. And I thought this game, Iowa State really missed him, mainly from a schematic standpoint with Darren DeVries. I thought DeVries packed it in, did a really good job. Iowa State just couldn't spread the floor. The 4 assists on 25 field goals is an absolutely horrendous statistic. And then you go 1 of 17 on top of it. Really, I don't want to say miracle, but it really surprising Iowa State was even in the game when it was at the 4 and under. And then you also, listen, we knew this would be a really hard game, and it was. And West Virginia is a good basketball team. You look at their resume, their losses are to Arizona, Houston, Pitt, and Louisville, all NCAA tournament teams. Those are all quad 1 losses. He should be in the running for National Coach of the Year right now, depending on how they do. You know, they were picked, I think, 11th in the Big 12. He's got them firmly in the top half, probably in the second tier there. And listen, my opinion hasn't changed at all on Iowa State after this game. I am curious to see, there's got to be some sort of an offensive evolution here from one game to another. Because there are a lot. This was my worry when Momcilovic was out. It wasn't like, oh, this guy is. It was that you're just less dynamic now.
Yeah,
and
it's a fact.
Yeah, and you don't have as many, weapons. You don't have the audibles to call as far as matchups and stylistically goes. And when you're on the road in that arena and you can't hit a shot, it's pretty freaking tough, right? To despite how good you play on defense. And I thought Iowa State was fine defensively against the Mountaineers. So now we'll see. You move some chips around. We'll see what you got here in a stretch coming where, I'd like to get 2 of 3 against UCF, Arizona State, and Arizona. If you can win all 3, that'd be freaking awesome. I'd love to get 2 of 3 in these next 3 games.
Yeah, well said. I mean, if you look at the box score, I mean, we get used to this Iowa State team, and let me get the numbers, and you tell me what the score would be if I told you this before the game. Let's play this game. Iowa State goes 1 of 17 from 3. Mm-hmm. Iowa State makes 6 free throws. West Virginia only has 9 turnovers. You'd be like, oh no, this is like the 3 worst possible things for Iowa State. You're right. It's amazing this game was even close, and this is the book now. And I credit West Virginia. They matched Iowa State's toughness. It's really about them and Auburn are about the only 2 teams I've seen this year that have gone toe for toe with a really tough-minded Iowa State team, and West Virginia brought it. And it was an oddly played game. It was very rugged. I think West Virginia smartly made that into a rock fight, just like Iowa State's done in the past. Mm-hmm. They took a page right out of the odds playbook from 2 years ago. Iowa State had more skill than West Virginia, but West Virginia uglied the game up, took care of the ball, which was big for them, and then it was tough in there. Like, here's the stat for you: Iowa State shoots just 7 free throws. All right, which is 11 fewer than its previous low for the season. The previous low before Saturday was 18. Just 7 free throws against West Virginia. Chris, that's the fewest Iowa State has shot in a basketball game since losing to Miami in the Sweet 16 3 years ago. So that is just a small number. When you consider the fact that Iowa State couldn't make a shot either, Iowa State needed to shoot 30 free throws in this game, honestly. Like, that was the chance, and it wasn't being called. It was a physical as heck game. I mean, you could say the officials were largely consistent. They didn't call anything. I mean, it was a flat-out slugfest. Yeah. And that's what happens. When you get into a game like that, I could kind of see where it was going. It was going to go to the under 4 and who makes the plays late, and West Virginia did. And, now I think the bigger conversation is this the book on Iowa State? And it's up to Iowa State to adjust, particularly in the next 4 weeks without Momcilovic. You're going to get people are going to pack it in. They're going to be as physical as heck on you, and you better have somebody to make a shot, or C-Dub, you're going to need some of those finishes at the rim and get some foul calls. And I think this is a team where Iowa State's going to be better at home for that reason. It's a home court for a reason there, and Iowa State's either going to need to turn teams over and get offense that way, or better hope that the whistle's a little tighter, which is a weird to say in an Iowa State game. But that's
Great
kind of
point.
the MO of what Iowa State needs to do. I think this was an anomaly more than the pattern going forward, but I would try the same thing if I'm UCF and they have the guys to do it.
That's the one thing that concerns me.
They're going to ugly it up. They're long, they're big, and they're going to force the officials to call it. And honestly, I think that's going to be interesting to watch on Tuesday is how that game is called. That was the worst case scenario for Iowa State, how that game was called last night. Whether fair or unfair, it's just the way it was, and Iowa State couldn't make a shot to save its life.
This will be interesting, too. Keep an eye on it. Iowa State is currently listed by KenPom. Against UCF, it would be a 17-point favorite.
Yikes.
And there's not an ounce of me that would bet a fifth of your paycheck on Iowa State to cover 17 against Central Florida just because of the way that they play. I mean, that's a team that realistically should have beaten Houston on Saturday. I watched every minute of that game, and we've kind of spoken on this podcast that we didn't really understand who West Virginia is, or excuse me, Central Florida is, where you win at Texas Tech, and then you lose by 50 to Kansas, and then you beat Colorado by 1 at home, and then you almost beat you go on the road and win at Arizona. Like they've got some really good wins, but then they have some head scratching. But I don't know how you watch them against Houston. They have physicality and they have guys, and it is listen, Iowa State should win that game. And I tend to do this. I tend to convince myself that everybody can beat the Cyclones. It's just the type of person I am.
Yeah.
But this isn't a great matchup. It's truly not, because they have the physicality in those guys. So I'm with you in as far as how the games are officiated and all of that stuff. But I'm not panicked. My opinion on the Cyclones has not changed at all.
No.
To think that they were just going to lose their top outside shooter who spreads and nothing was going to be impacted is complete fool's gold. And they were exposed by a really good coach. And you know what? Iowa State has really good coaches too, and they're going to make some adjustments and fully anticipate a nice win against Central Florida, a big week coming up. But this is part of the evolution of life without 22 here.
Well, that's what we talked about Wednesday morning before the Kansas game. Iowa State hasn't really dealt with adversity. This is about it, all year. And you're not going to get any better unless you deal with it. You were not – again, we had the fun wager that Iowa State was not going to go undefeated in the Big 12. And thank goodness for me that I wanted Iowa State to go undefeated.
You no longer have to get a tattoo of me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just for the record.
Shame. That would have been epic. There's no way you would have done that.
If Iowa State went undefeated in the Big 12, I would have. Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, I probably
no way. I know you. There's no way.
This is this was going to happen. This is why I've really enjoyed following the NBA over the last 20 years. Is because teams lose. And it's not the end of the world. You're going to lose games, and it's how
my biggest frustration with college athletics anymore is the sky is falling mentality after every loss.
Not after every game. It's you guys, this Iowa State team is still really, really good. The odds haven't moved at all. Momcilovic being out is a factor, and now Iowa State will figure it out. I think Tuesday's the perfect opportunity. You're at home, a very physical team that really tried to ugly it up down in Orlando a year ago, and Iowa State was tough enough to win that game. I'm going to see something similar. I agree with you, C-Dub. I think this is a great time for this, and Iowa State's got great leadership. It's going to be fine. And the great news is Momcilovic is going to come back. And it sounds like it's not as bad as feared, and so it could be even mid-February. So, the sky is definitely not falling.
Yeah, and I hope, the hope is hopefully they can be better for it long term.
Totally.
Right? I think I'll be I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the coaches meeting this morning on if, I wonder if they got stuck as far as the minutes go with the three guards, or is this a thing until he's out or until he's back? Let me read you the minutes real quick.
All right.
From the big three. Lipsy played 37, Jones played 36, Gilbert played 37. Jefferson with 32 minutes. And I just wonder if, you get down early, into Iowa State's credit, you come back, you kind of got out of rhythm. you in that environment, you want to go with the guys you trust the most. I think I'd love to see Heisey hit a shot.
Need him or
he has
Keyshawn. Him or Keyshawn has to start making threes. I mean, it can't just be. It can't be just Curtis.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. So, I think he would like to play Watson more, but when you get into one of these games and points are at a premium, it's harder to give him the run. I would love to know what that plan, like, because there's a difference between what the plan is and then what do you actually do in the line of fire. And I don't know, that's just a lot of minutes. Those guys have not been playing those minutes this year.
So then the question is, all right, if you're right, Watson isn't really a floor spacer. Do you give Noyes some extra run? But Noyes, in a game that was points were at a premium, you can't be giving up a bunch on the other end in a low possession game like that was. So they were stuck in a box there. That was a really tough situation. There's no way they wanted to play those guys that many minutes, but
especially Jefferson at 32.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's just it's not what Iowa State wanted to do. But you get into that game where it's like, well, who do we take out? I mean, literally every possession from the 10-minute mark was a war. And it's just, I think Tuesday's really interesting. How do you adjust anything? Do you get some guys some more run early? And then schematically, what do you do? Because UCF's going to try the exact same thing. They're going to try to ugly it up, pressure the wings, beat the hell out of Iowa State, and hope it doesn't get called.
I hope that the fans are with students being back 100%. Got to keep bringing it. That's a key to me. This is my biggest dream. Okay. Well, I just realized it's MLK Day tomorrow too. By no means is this dream as important as his. I hope, because Iowa State, I believe, will still be in the top 5.
Yes.
You agree too?
I agree.
Okay.
They're going to probably be 5, right at 5.
Well, everybody else lost too. So that's if you care about the rankings, everybody else lost. I hope that this can, I've always compared Iowa State to Kansas in this sense when I go down to Allen Fieldhouse and you have their students don't camp, but their students will sleep in the hallway there in Allen Fieldhouse. And it doesn't matter if they're playing, Eastern Tennessee on a Tuesday or if it's Iowa State or whatever. And I'm just feel like the rest of these games are sold out.
That's awesome.
You're in the top 5.
Yeah.
Man, this is I've always loved Hilton. We all love Hilton. We all think it's special. I get goosebumps talking about it. I hope that it's got that electricity that it did for Kansas when it's UCF, when it's just everybody going forward, because it's such a dynamic weapon. And I do think that the team will need it on Tuesday night. I do think that this could be a game where the old root canal Big 12 game, I think we're back to that for at least a couple more of these.
Yeah, I thought, interesting you say that. I thought one of the best atmospheres a year ago in Hilton was a similar situation where obviously was coming off a loss, had BYU coming to town.
Great point.
And struggled.
Awesome night. Struggled
a lot in that game, but the crowd really got it over the hump. It was like, we are not going to let you lose. I'm 100% on board with that. The Houston and the Baylor games weren't close, but the atmospheres weren't as electric as Kansas. I think that's the next iteration for this crowd this year is jam out UCF and make it. If you can bury them early, you're gonna. I think Iowa State could run away with it. I really do. I mean, that's one of those things where that 17 may not be enough. If this game gets down to the wire, though, you need Hilton for the influence on the other team because they do turn it over a lot, by the way. So that's encouraging. And then, honestly, the home court advantage on the officials. That's a big advantage.
No doubt.
You saw it in West Virginia. I think Tuesday's a big opportunity for everybody, and you're running out of home days too. I mean, in reality, you got 7 left, so take advantage of everything you can.
Last but certainly not least, it's always the most important thing when I look at an Iowa State box score, and it's especially true now with 22 out of the lineup, and that's live ball turnovers, and they were almost non-existent in this game.
Right.
Against West Virginia. I mean, you had 14 off of turnovers, but you look at the rest of your scoring, and it shows you just how vital that was for this team. And especially in these home games, it's like, well, how do you get the crowd into it? It's like these transition buckets. There's nothing that gets them going. Are they still doing the kill chant? Is that still,
Yeah, we're still doing it.
Did they do that the other? I didn't even notice.
We're still doing it. Yeah,
loved that. Huge fan of the kill chant. I absolutely adore that. And these live ball turnovers will be more important than ever now, because this is not. It's still like it's just you take that away and you can't spread the floor out as well, and half-court offense is going to be tougher and tougher now.
It just
so
is.
It makes that more important.
Two things can be true. Iowa State's offense is a top 10 offense when healthy. No question about it. Losing your best shooter on the team will have an impact. Like,
absolutely. It's
just for anybody. And now it's up to Iowa State to figure out, okay, that doesn't work anymore. How do we figure it out? And Chris, what I'm really looking at is you still need to pound it inside. Like, those big guys got to be better. Iowa State still shot 60% from 2, which is a good number, but missed way too many around the basket. And then you got to get Keyshawn going a little bit. This is his time. You don't have I think Lipsy and Jones have been awesome doing what they do. I just, Curtis has been a revelation. He can't keep up this pace. It's just impossible to do that. And so he's got to get his backcourt mate, Keyshawn, to, Keyshawn's always going to be a great defender, tough guy, rebounder. He has to get a couple more things going to the basket like he did early in the season as well.
I think he will.
I do too. I think the world of that kid. He knows it, and I look forward for a big game from number 10 on Tuesday.
All right, Williams and Blum here on Sunday, the 19th of January. We are presented by our friends at Mechdime. We are also presented today by our buddy, our real estate friend, Andrew Chaplin. We call him Chappie, guy over at Hunziker. I actually talked to quite a few people who are realtor buddies of mine, and they said the market's getting back to, I don't want to call it normal, but it's heating back up. So if you're looking to relocate, second home somewhere in Ames so you can watch the Cyclones. We have a couple of friends who I know are doing that. You can look up our guy. His name is Andrew Chappell, and he is the realtor of choice here on Williams and Blum and Cyclone Fanatic. Go out and buy yourself a 12-pack of Cody Road. Are you still doing the 12-packs, or is it only a 6-pack? Did you ever do a 12-pack?
There never have been the Ames Lager.
The tall boys. That's what I was getting mixed
the
up.
tall boys. They do have some of those hanging around, but 6-packs always add up. Guess what? Guess what? 2 6-packs is a 12-pack.
There you go. Buy 2 6-packs of the old Ames Lager. Same deal with our guy over at Cody Road over in LeClaire. Ryan Burchett, saw him. He was at the Kansas game. Come up, shake my hand. It was good to see him. Support all these people who support us here at Cyclone Fanatic. And, of course, our friends at the Iowa State University Foundation. Go to movewhatmatters.com today. Well, Forever True Day will be just around the corner. We're going to see if we can break our record this year for giving. Every year I give to the marching band. I give to the College of Veterinary Medicine, the Greenlee School of Journalism, and the Iowa State University Ivy College of Business.
Hey, that commercial is great, by the way.
Thank you.
You mixing up with the band.
Love the band. I said I'll do it on one. We got to bring the band.
Got to bring the band.
No, they got a great crew over there. Ryan and Valerie and all their Gabe, and man, they got an awesome group of people who put that together. I was just a guinea pig. That was all their their idea. But we actually have another one that's coming out, and it's a tour of Jack Trice Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, it's real. It's going to be cool. I can't wait for everybody to see that. So you'll see all those pre-rolls and all that good stuff here on Cyclone Fanatic. All right, should we do our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment?
Yeah.
Let's jump into
another interesting day in the Big 12.
Yeah. Plant your independence, plant Wiffles. Planting season will be just around the corner. I hate planting season because that means the sports are all done. Sorry, formers, because I love Big 12 basketball season. There's not much that gets my juices flowing more than Big 12 basketball, but we will be there, and we want you to remember our friends at Wiffles Hybrids. Let's look at the Big 12 scoreboard. And Kansas handled Kansas State. I will say I gave Tang's team a little credit. I watched a lot of Big 12 basketball yesterday, Brent. I thought they were going to roll over and die. They got down like 16 early. Yeah. They come back and only lost by 10, but Kansas State drops to an abysmal 1-5 in Big 12 play. But it did show me that they're not done. It's hard for me to give them credit in that circumstance, but it was in Allen Fieldhouse, and we'll see. But
that's if I'm that fan base, that makes me extra frustrated because I know that these guys can play when they want to. Like they have the capability.
They do. They have talent. That's why I said a couple weeks ago I didn't think they were as bad as their record.
It's got to be infuriating for that fan base with that team right now. I can't imagine attendance is going to be great for them. But yeah, I mean, that's not a gimme. That's not a gimme when Iowa State goes there, or when you play them up here. I mean, Coleman Hawkins is a good player. You know, the guy is getting.
He almost
paid
had a triple-double.
Yeah, I mean, he is a really good player. I know he's kind of the line of a bad joke right now, but he's still arguably is a tremendous player when he wants to, and that's the problem is when he wants to.
Other games of note. Mentioned this. Houston really should have lost at UCF. They were down 8 at halftime.
I didn't see. I thought they missed the travel on that play. I really did on the Roberts winner. I did. I think he took an extra bunny hop, and nobody discussed it, so I didn't really lose any sleep over. But I think if in the technical rule book, I think he did walk there.
Well, the difference. So, first of all, West Virginia is a lot better than UCF.
Yes.
So don't take the comp I'm about to make to. Don't take it to heart too much. But the point I am making though is you look at Houston's box score. 3 of 16.
Yep.
Didn't shoot well, didn't create the live ball turnovers that they do, and they found a way to get out. But Iowa State had one of those at Texas Tech, right? This is what good teams do, and Houston got away with one that they definitely should have lost on Saturday. So 1 up on Houston as far as that goes. Iowa State's next 3 opponents here. So that was UCF. We've discussed them. Arizona State loses at Cincinnati. The Sun Devils are, I don't know. Are you surprised they're 1-5? I think I'm surprised. I didn't think that they'd be great, but
they were one of those teams I had no idea what to make of. And if he keeps losing, that guy's going to lose his head.
Yeah.
He's pretty
they
diabolical.
They got to go to West Virginia on Tuesday.
And then come around and play Iowa State Saturday.
So they're going to likely be on a 5-game losing streak, lost 7 of 8 when Iowa State comes to town.
I bet that crowd, based on the numbers I'm hearing from Iowa State fans, it's going to be 50-50, pretty close to 50-50 in Tempe, for real.
I agree. And I bought tickets to that game because I'm sitting in the stands with some friends, and that's a tough market.
Yeah, well, and so just because I am not going. There's no official We Will event there. I know we talked about it. It was just hard to honestly secure tickets, but I think the Phoenix Alumni Association group is doing something. We'll be sure to share that if I can get some more details here on Wednesday's show. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be sure to do that because I think I might stop by.
Yeah, good.
Prior to that event, I needed to. We have an email, and I'm seriously, since my aunt died, I'm 600 emails deep. I just if you have emailed me, I promise I'll get back to you. I'm so sorry.
Same. I'm in a similar boat right now, but hey,
just swimming.
We're figuring it out, everybody.
Yeah. Arizona lost at Texas Tech, 70-54. I'm not surprised they lost. Kind of surprised they lost by 16. But this again is just another one of those tough Big 12 road games, and we're still feeling out Arizona. It's I think they're pretty good. I don't think they're Iowa State, Houston.
Nope.
But I think they might be. I think they're better than West Virginia. I don't know. They kind of feel like they're on their own little tier. We'll see.
You know what I saw yesterday, and I wanted to bring. I wrote it down because I wanted to bring it up. The 3 or 4 Big 12 games I watched, I was surprised at the amount of physicality allowed. It's almost as if. I mean, we are a long way away from the non-conference now. We have now settled into the wars of the past couple of years in the Big 12. And I think it is an adjustment period. Just go through the box score, C-Dub. The amount of fouls called was very, very minimal relative to the non-conference. Almost half. Half the amount of foul calls. So that's an adjustment for everybody, particularly when you're on the road. You're not going to just go in there in the post and, if you miss your layup, you're going to go to the free throw line. It's a complete battle in there. And I think for the first time yesterday, I thought Deshaun Jackson and Joshua Jefferson kind of had a welcome to the Big 12 moment of, you're not getting that call here. So something to keep an eye on going forward for sure.
Yeah. And it seems to move too.
It does. And that's what's frustrating. And was it consistent? I guess consistent in that they didn't call anything inside yesterday until late on a couple breakaways for West Virginia that were actually kind of iffy. But hey, if that's what it is, then you got to adjust to it. Like you can't just blame the officials. You figure out a way to make it happen. So we've seen now. Look at all this, just the scores in general. There were a lot more low scoring yesterday, and that usually is because there's no fouls being called, so there's no free points at the line.
Presented by Kelderman Manufacturing. Check them out at kelderman.com. Big-time supporters of what we do here on Cyclone Fanatic, kelderman.com. Let's go to last but certainly, I wanted to bring this up, and this is going to be our last conversation of the day. This is going to be a highly controversial conversation. I want to talk about King McClure. Okay?
Yes, please.
So I put out a tweet.
Yep.
About 5 minutes into the game, and I said, hey, this King McClure, paraphrasing, I don't have the exact wording that I used. I go, I think he's come a really long way and is a really nice analyst now. So I've always been of the opinion that King kind of got thrown out there.
He's
like
young.
Yeah. His first year doing all this was in COVID.
Yep.
He was on the D crew. And
Remote.
he got all of those shitty Iowa State games
Yes.
when Iowa State went 0-18.
100% he did.
And we all, one, he wasn't very good then. And then we all associate him with the worst season in program history because he called
fault.
half the games.
Yes.
And I do think he's turned into a he's not Jay Billis.
No.
He's a much better analyst than he was at that time. You would have thought, if you looked at my replies to this tweet, that I just would have said, you know what, I think that they should name Steve Alford the athletic director in waiting to replace Jamie Pollard. I need your thought again, people. What are we? I said he's turned into a nice analyst. He's not. It's not Van Gundy out there, but I don't know. I don't hate him anymore. What about you, Bloom? Where are you at on this?
I've always found the discourse around broadcasters interesting. And generally your impression of a broadcaster sometimes coincides with how the game goes, if we're being honest. And I had to actually, because I think obviously it's a hard job. It's really, really tough. And I don't think they gave him a lot of favors. I thought the broadcast was a little weird yesterday, going to be honest, just from a professional standpoint. It just seemed like Chucky and King were yelling a lot when West Virginia did good things.
Well, and then I don't like where they put them right in front of the students.
Yes. It was very distracting. There just seemed like there was a lot of yelling. But I think as Iowa State fans, what we got to get used to is when other teams beat Iowa State now, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it's a celebration for them.
Doesn't mean that they hate you.
No,
grow
not
some
at all.
Thick skin.
I think King, he, in my opinion, was a little bit, he got on one of the Keyshawn Gilbert non-fouls. He said that should have been fouled. I didn't agree with him. But I tend to agree with you. It's a hard job. And I think he was a bit of a victim of the circumstance of two things that you mentioned. One, Iowa State fans have a negative impression of him because of the past. And two, they were very excitable as a crew yesterday because that was a big upset. And sometimes you're there, it's really loud. Like I've done games with the headset on. A lot of times you don't realize what you're saying because it's so loud in there that you become a victim of the moment, and you sometimes lose track of, especially younger broadcasters, and King and Chucky are both younger. That can happen. I totally get it. Like I still think those guys did a fine job. Is King the best ever to be done? No, he has gotten better though. He has gotten better.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying, man.
I
don't think he should be the punchline that he was 5 years ago. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, if just search in any game, because listen, and maybe us as broadcasters shouldn't read it, but you see it. You do any game, you type in the analyst on Twitter, and you'll see terrible things said about the analysts. It's just the nature of people associate negative feelings during the game with they think they're cheering for the other team.
Yeah, they're just not. Great point by you.
And I think honestly, I think Jeff Settles has grown tremendously as well. I would pick him. And it's just you're always going to make somebody unhappy. It's the same with officials. Like no one's ever said, man, other than Scott Christopherson, who was awesome. That guy's really good. I mean, it's like if you're good, you don't think about it. If you're bad, then you'll get the negativity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I get it. The point you made about Iowa State being the second-ranked team in the country, and it's a big deal if they lose now, is something that we're just not used to.
Correct.
It was like a lot of Iowa State fans said on going in. Man, this is weird being 6-point favorite over Kansas. Like it was just different. And
yeah, I mean, how many times when Iowa State would play Kansas and go back and watch some of those games that were on ESPN. And Musburger and Fraschilla going nuts, and I'm guessing that drove the Kansas fans well. Like, what are you doing cheering for Iowa State here? Like, a lot of times broadcasters are cheering for the story, not for the team.
Correct. More often than not, unless it's the hometown guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think most people are smart enough to realize what they are.
And if you can't handle it, guys, literally, this is a great service, the Varsity Network app. You can get John and Eric on the stream and just match it up with your TV, and then you're happy both ways.
Yes. Which I do all the time.
Same with me. I did it yesterday, actually, in the second half.
I really like doing that with football because then I can get my lineups and
injuries
and they pick up on. Oh well, that was Mendezoon who checked in on that third down and like
that was Ryland Barnes in there.
Yeah, the TV's just never gonna pay that much attention when it comes to it. Well, this has been a fun show. I want to give a shout out to your dad, Dennis, on his birthday.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Also want to give my niece and nephew, Nolan and Miley, a shout-out. They are their birthday is on Monday, the twins, down in good old Clorinda. Got a lot of birthdays here, and we appreciate each and every one of you.
Yeah.
We'll be back with a Wednesday pod this week, and then I am heading to Arizona on Thursday. Little southwestern getaway.
What's the temperature situation in there?
Not great, like
really?
60. I mean, better than here.
Okay.
But it's not like I'm going to be laying out in a pool.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'll go to a pool, but I don't know if.
Aren't you going to see like Sasquatch or Geronimo or something?
I am going to go on Sunday. My commute from Phoenix to Tucson, and I am going to go to some. So my wife's flying back on Saturday. She's not staying for the whole time.
So you're gonna go solo mode, or you're gonna cover the game on Monday?
I'm gonna cover the game on Monday.
Got it. And
then I'm gonna go and look for some ancient Native American burial sites and all that good stuff. That I love this stuff. I'm gonna go to some really high quality Apache ground. I'm gonna go and look for Geronimo, a bunch of landmarks and that type of good stuff on Sunday.
This is why we get along great. You're going to spend your off day looking at Geronimo stuff when there's some of the best golf of all time.
Golf? What do you mean golf?
There's great golf courses down there. My goodness, so many great golf courses.
I wouldn't even touch that. I was thinking like the only other thing I would consider doing is getting to Tucson as fast as possible and then finding like a dive bar to watch the NFL. And I'm going to have to do this show with you. I am planning on doing this show with you.
Well, good.
Sunday
on location.
Night from when I'm down there. I'll be in the land of the sun. All
Safe.
Right, he's Brent Blum.
We'll talk to everybody on Wednesday. But no, on this team real quick, and my opinion on the quality of this team hasn't changed one iota. This is still a Final Four caliber team, and you're going to learn in the long run because this is going to happen again, and it will happen in an NCAA tournament game where you're going to have to learn how to grind out a win or two, and I think this is good for this team.
Looking forward to another awesome game week. He is Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. We will be back on Wednesday for your Wednesday show. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsor, Mechdine, and all of you for taking in Williams and Blum here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.